Happy Tuesday! Hello there, Teresa and Dee and Pamela. It's so good to see some familiar names, and hello there. And we are live, and it's, Tuesday. It's been a great week so far. What has everybody else been up to this week? I love getting to see what everybody else is doing. And I have been, working on some projects. I'm going to be traveling for after this week for 2 weeks. I will be at Amy Bachman in Harmony. I'll be teaching a class there. I'm going to be visiting some resellers in Ohio, and then I'm going on over to Detroit, and I'm going to Caesar to do some filming for a few days, and then Chicago for H&H. And then it is Dax show. So kind of got some busy things going on and touching base home every now and then. But tonight I went ahead and of course I filmed part of this to show you because I was in software, and it's so much easier to film it and show it than it is to try to do it live sometimes because it wants to lag, and that tends to drive me a little bit crazy. So hey Reen, hey Caroline, good to see both of you. So tonight I have done a raggy applique, and it's one of my favorites to do because it's such a quick stitch out. So I'm going to show you how I created it, and then I'll show you the project, and then we can talk about a few things. So without further ado, let me add this to the stage. Hey everybody, we're going to work again tonight in cut and stitch, and I'm doing an applique, but I'm going to do this one just a little bit different. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to open up that SVG so that I can turn that into an applique. So the first thing I'm going to do is File and Open, and I'm going to go to Craft is the file that I created. And this is an SVG. So that's the first thing to know, is this isn't a stitch file, that it's just an SVG. And here are my letters. And let me hit undo because I just moved that one just a smidge. And I can turn everything all at once into an applique. And by doing that, if you don't know, you're going to go to your effects, and then there is applique. And right now you can see that that is a satin stitch, but I want it to be a run stitch or a bean stitch or a 2-ply stitch. So I've selected 2-ply, and then I have to say apply. So I've applied that, and now this will be a applique with a triple bean stitch. I want to add just a little bit more bling to this. So I'm going to go over to my craft shapes, and it's under children. I'm going to add a crown. So I'm going to select that crown, and I'm going to make it smaller and move that over. I am also going to separate it because I don't want to fill any of that in with stitches. So I'm just going to hit delete, and then I have my crown. So let's see about what size that I'd like to make this, and you can just see I'm kind of shrinking it. And I'm going to change my view just to make it easier for you to see. And I'm going to do this kind of at an angle like it's sitting on my T. Okay, that looks good. So again, this is an SVG, it's a cut file. I'm just going to turn that into my applique, and then again, I'm going to change it to a 2-ply and say apply. So that way I now can stitch this. This stitches out so fast because of it being that bean stitch. So I'm going to say File and Save As. And then I'm going to choose my machine and save it as Craft Crown Sweatshirt is what it's going to be. And save. And that way I can save it, and then we're going to stitch it. Don't you love how simple that is? And I know you watch that sometimes and you think it really isn't that simple. It really is that simple. I love that can use an SVG. I can use the cut and stitch. I can use elements inside of it. But I love changing that edge because sometimes we have a satin stitch to cover up that edge. And I love a satin. See me do it a lot. But for this technique, I really didn't want it to be that clean or even that heavy, if that makes sense. So that's why I chose kind of the raw edge of it. And what I've used is a simple white sweatshirt and then just a simple white t-shirt. So that way, these are things, typically we kind of have in the house. We buy, blanks when we craft. I almost always have a handful of black t-shirts because I wear those a lot for Caesar events. We wear black t-shirts. It's easy to kind of stay in a uniform. So I have a ton of black t-shirts and then I have some white ones. And then typically I'll have a couple of sweatshirts. And we all know that when I buy stuff, I tend to buy more than one, especially when they're on sale. And the sweatshirt that I used is actually from Michael's. And if you've not tried those, I really do like them, especially this time of year. And it's Make Market. So that was the brand of it. So I'm going to show you kind of the back of it just beforehand. But what I like about these sweatshirts right now, especially, it's because they're not really, really heavy, thick sweatshirts and they're long sweatshirts. So I'm going to kind of stand up to show that it goes down, way, down. So that way, if you want to wear them with leggings or wear them, it's not a cropped. I don't want a cropped. Most of us don't want a cropped, but I'll show you. And then I will change this under the camera view so that you can see it under camera. But I really like those sweatshirts. They are maybe, I'm going to say $15 for those, but they're frequently on sale. And a lot of times they're buy one, get one off 50% off or two for, $20 or $19. So they typically, how Michael's does, they'll have different sales. So I'll buy several of them and I buy a couple different sizes. I use them for myself. I use them to stitch out things because I like that weight of them. I like that it's longer and it's not really tight at the band because I don't like that because then I feel like I look like a Oompa Loompa. We know what when it just makes you look thick. So hello, Denise. Hello, Dorothy. I am going to be up in Michigan this coming up soon. Not this weekend, but the next. And then I'm there for the weekend, which is very, very unusual. So I haven't decided while I'm up there if I'm going to go to Cedar Point for the week and go to the amusement park because it opens May 3rd, or if I'm going to go to Ann Arbor or maybe over to Traverse City or Grand Rapids, maybe over the bridge, go into Windsor. So I'm looking for some things. So if anybody has suggestions, feel free to shoot those to me because it's unusual for me to be traveling to see Caesar and be there for the weekend and have some of my own time on my hands. And, I am typically there working. I have been to some of the other places. I did take vacation up there. It's beautiful. I wish I had time to go all the way up to Mackinac, but it's, 4 or 5 hours drive. May go to Frankenmuth, so that would be an option too. So, hey, Jill, it's good to see you on here. And so somebody asked about the stitches. Will the hidden stitches stitch out? Yes. And let me just change views and then I can kind of show you what I did. So here you can see that I have, that was that triple run stitch. And you can tell I didn't try to cut it real neat. I just cut it. And so I stitched and then I just put t-shirt down and stitched and then I cut around it And then for the t-shirt, I added a piece of glitter to make my little craft queen kind of thing. So I have done one of these also, and I did white thread. And I like the white thread because it was very tone on tone, but I thought that it looked good to do the gold stitches to go with the crown. Or it would be fun, if you had different colored leggings. I think I'm going to do another one, and I'm going to do a different color thread for each letter. So tell me what you would do if, let me see if I can zoom. There you go. That way you can really see those stitches. And I want you to see that I did not cut this perfect. I'm going to love when I wash it, it's going to curl. And I wanted it to be exactly what it is, to be a little rough and raggy. So that way you tell me, first of all, does everybody know how hard it is to come up with a word? It seems so simple, right? You're getting ready to make a project for a sample, and I'm like, what word am I going to use? And I had several, and it just wasn't looking right. Every time I would type it out, everything I would do. So then I was thinking craft, and then I was like, oh, we have to have the little crown. So then that way I can be the crafting queen. So I do. I like the sound of the different colors. I'm gonna do that again. I've done a black sweatshirt, and I actually used on the black sweatshirt. What I did is I cut the bottom of it off because it was really an oversized sweatshirt, and I used the fleece, but I turned it the other way so that the black fleecy part was stitching out. So I did it that way before. I've done a couple different versions of these. I haven't done a live with it to show. So I thought that, when I was looking through some stuff, I actually saw this type of a sweatshirt when I was out shopping, and it was $64, and it was, the word Tennessee going across. It was a white sweatshirt with white fabric and Tennessee, and, and it was $64. And, I said, I can make that myself. And I started to do Tennessee, but I wasn't feeling it. If I did Tennessee, I would probably use orange thread. And D, I will see if I can find some of my samples. If you knew me in my house, it's not always that easy because I shove stuff in bins with the intention of label them someday. If Jill's still listening, she can type in and attest to I have bins all everywhere hidden. I try to keep it organized. It just doesn't work. I love the idea of variegated thread, and I really do wonder how it would look with that triple bean, the way that it goes back and forth, back and forth. I still have this design on my machine, so I may have to do a test run to see how it would look with some variegated, and I've got some variegated sitting here. So that may be something to try. And how many of you like stitching with variegated thread? Because I love stitching with variegated thread. I think the colors, and there's certain designs that just look so wonderful that way. One of the very first things that I fell in love with variegated was a skull from Urban Threads, and it was just a continuous single line stitch. And I did it with variegated, so it made it look like I had changed threads 50 times, and it was so, so beautiful. So it was one of my favorite things that I first did it was the very first thing I did with variegated thread, and that made me fall in love with it. And Dime has some beautiful colors of variegated thread, and it's getting, to me, red, white, and blue, it's one of my favorites. It stitches so beautifully. And it's Halloween colors are probably my second favorite. And then I forget what it's called, but it has pinks and aquas in it. And again, that's one of my favorites. I'm going to look down for just a minute, talks amongst yourself. I'm trying to find out what time my live is this Thursday with Caesar. So I'm going to be doing Caesar After Dark this week. And it's Patrick has been doing such a phenomenal job doing those. And I get to do my part Thursday night. So I'm excited about that. And it is this Thursday night. And I'm trying to see what time it is. And I'll be honest, I don't have my glasses on. I think it is 7 Eastern. Thank you, Dee. But I really am trying to look at it. Yeah, 7 Eastern. So for me, it's 6. So I grabbed glasses so that I could see. I am reading half blind tonight because I didn't want to put in my contacts. I'm trying to let my eyes take a nice breath and breather. So I have taken my contacts out. So I hope that everybody, please, you have to register so you can get the link to go to StreamYard. And, please join me. I need some familiar faces in there. I'm looking forward to it. I love doing my thing, but I will be showing embroidery with vinyl, but I'm going to actually show step by step so that if anybody is unclear on how to do that, I'm going to show it with Aurora. I'm going to show it with glitters. I'm going to show it with some brick, some different kinds of vinyl so that people can see what the differences look like. I'll have some different edges. So I'll have some raw edges and some satin stitches. So that will be this Thursday night. And then I will be at this Friday at, goodness, you could tell I don't have my calendar or anything around right this moment. Friday, I'm doing a live with Condi. So I will be there. I'm going to say it is Friday at 3:30 Central. And I'm going to try to stream it over to my page also, but it's Condi, Conde. I'll be there Friday at 3:30. And we're going to be talking sublimation again and some embroidery and some different kind of fun projects. I'm going to show off my New Orleans jacket since that audience hasn't seen it. And then next Wednesday, I will be at Amy's in Harmony. So I'm looking forward to being there. It will be a great time. And I'll get to see some familiar faces. And I'll get to meet some new people, I am so sure. So that will be on Thursday, and I believe it starts at 10:30. So that would 4:30 Eastern at Condi. Thank you very much. And then I will be at 10:30. I'll be at Amy's in person. So we'll have a good time, and we may do a live together. Getting to do anything with Amy is a lot of fun. And hey, Kristen, that's the great thing about replay, but I will show you my project, and then I'm going to change camera views just so you can see it real quickly because I don't want you to miss out. And I like showing stuff off. So let's change that camera view. And this was a raw edge applique. So I used a just white t-shirt just to give it a little definition and very raggy raw edge. And then I did my little crown in glitter. And this is, I was talking about how I loved these Make Market sweatshirts because they are thin, because they are long, they are not cropped, and it's a nice weight. And they have them in several colors also. And so, and like I said, I just used a white t-shirt for that background, and I'll keep that. What parts that I don't cut up and use in projects, I will, I say that I would dust with it, but we know I don't dust that often. I wish I did. I wish you see people that are really, love to clean. That's not me. And what did I use for my stabilizer? I used just a no-show poly mesh, or it may have been a fusible poly mesh, but typically I use fusible. And then if it needs to be fused, I fused it. And if I don't, I won't. But a fusible poly mesh would be mine. And adult sweatshirts. Yes. And you can see it's nice and long, and the band is not, I like when the band is straight and it doesn't go in and cinch you and make you, look chubby. We need all the help we can get. So this one will go in the wash, and I will probably wear it on my live this coming Thursday night. So that way you'll get to see it in action and hope that I got it straight, because I, of course, waited to the last minute. So one of the things that I do frequently when I'm test stitching something, I have a ton of heavy stabilizer, like the old heavy stabilizer that you don't use hardly on anything because it looks like a brick underneath anything that you stitched. Those of you that have been embroidered for a long while, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I hoop that and I will do a test stitch on it to kind of see. So I couldn't decide on my stitch, and there's some decorative stitches that I thought about doing for this project. So I tested a couple, and I liked the triple run stitch better, the 2-ply. And for anyone that's watching that knows the answer to this, chime in and let me know. What is the difference between bean stitch and run stitch? That's something I need to know. I could just create something and stitch it out, but I'd like to know the difference between those. And what else is going on? Y'all tell me. I feel like I'm talking and nobody's chiming in right now. I want to know what everybody else is doing. And Dee, thank you for keeping my schedule straight for me and typing that out for people. Much appreciated. Because I have a hard time keeping up with me, and especially when I don't have a calendar nearby. Oh, I know. Because, I love to teach y'all about new things. How many of you have seen tufting? And you do it like tufting for a rug. Is it a run stitch? Usually 1 pass bean is 3 passes of thread. I think so. That's what because, it's a lot of times it'll say run stitch, bean stitch, 2-ply stitch. And 2-ply, you see it go back and forth, back and forth. Bean stitch sounds decorative. Run stitch sounds like a pre-stitch. Run stitch, I think, is just that. It's just a single line. 1 pass, and bean is like, and you'll see it do. So yeah, I'll stitch it out and then I'll show it to you, and then we'll all know this answer. But how many of you have heard of rug tufting? And you did see my tufting project. Run stitch is 1 line. Thank you, Carrie. Thought so, but then again, I wasn't positive. So I've been researching tufting very, eagerly, aggressively researching and looking at different types of tufting guns, different materials. So I had put a bunch of stuff in my cart and had done quite a bit of research and looked at different reviews and YouTubes and read some books and different things because, I like to go down that rabbit hole. Well, I happened to be watching a video, and then it said that they were going to be doing a class in Chicago, and I'm going to be in Chicago, but I don't really have time to take a tufting class while I'm there. But it made me do a search, and I basically searched tufting class near me. And there was one that was this past weekend outside of Atlanta. So I grabbed a friend and we drove down Friday night after work and stayed the night in Atlanta. And then we went to IKEA, because you can't be in, Atlanta and not go to IKEA. And then we went to a tufting class. So Carrie says there's one in Cleveland that has a place for rugs. See, I love that I get to be an enabler and let you learn about new crafts. And had issues trying to punch needle. Tufting is not difficult. It's not. It's not. Look at me. It is not difficult. It is a lot of fun. It's a little tiring. So I'm going to hold up. So some of you may have seen my little video, but this was the project that I did. And I'm going to say that the rug is, it's almost 3 foot. got blurry when I did that to my camera. It's about 3 foot. So, and it took me a little over 3 hours to do it, but I'd never done it before. So I'd say, you'll get faster. So you use tufting. It's called like a rug base or tufting base, and it is it's not real expensive. It's probably the cheapest hobby that I've ever got started in for me. My gun is on its way. My tufting material's on its way. There are different backings. So they have some thicker rug backing. I got a little bit thinner, and it's got like non-skid dots on it is the type that I ordered. So, and I was very fortunate. I was very honest with the people when I took the class, and I told them, I really have wanted to buy this stuff. I had it in my cart. They had about 8 different kinds of guns and let me try them out. The one that I liked the best was the one that I was going to buy, so that made me feel better. Guns are anywhere from, you can get them probably $59 to $159. And, you're going to see good and bad about all of them. But the biggest thing is their weight. So one of the ones that I used that I looked at was a 3.7 pound gun. Because, you see, I don't have a lot of muscle. So it's not anything like latch hook, except for you use yarn, because that's what I kind of thought. So I have a video. If you go over, I had a reel and I can post it even, but I'm trying to see if I can pull this up. I don't know if I can't post it, and I can't quite pull it in here that fast, but I'll post it in the group so that way you can see. But it's basically like either a nail gun or what you tag clothes with, that kind of, it's got a sharp needle. You thread it with 2 strands of yarn typically, and you go up. You can't go, down and do it. So you start, you go up, and you start, and you go up, or you go from left, or you go to right. So if you were going to do a circle, you would go from 6 o'clock, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 12. And then you would go 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So that's how you do a circle. And you get the weave and the lines close together. If you miss a gap, you feel it, and you feel that there's a gap, or you can see, and you just go and you do a couple stitches and fill it in with yarn. So I will put it on the YouTube channel, Dee. After I get finished, I'll post that up there, and that will be a good place for it. And it's just like I said, it's my friend and I have ordered enough to have some frames. Of course, I'm going to be doing some more research. The whole purpose, I wanted to be able to do a back of a denim jacket. Of course, I wanted to do the back of a denim jacket, but I have ordered some different types of yarn. Typically, you have wool yarns, acrylic yarns, cotton yarns, and you use different yarns for different projects and wearability. Acrylic yarn is, a very popular one. It wears very well. So I'll be doing some research. I also want to try, what I want to do is, I'm going to pull this off real quick. I want to make little brooches. That was one of the things that interested me. So it wasn't that I want to make a bunch of rugs, but this is a little tufted pin. I want to do this because, I love adding little elements to my denim jackets. So the thought that I could make my own little elements like that really, really make me happy. I can do some rhinestone stuff. And I love finding brooches at, consignment shops and estate sales that have different old jewelry and putting it together. But the thought of being able to make my own little things. So I'm going to be trying it with different thinnesses and thicknesses of yarn to see what works. And then, of course, I'll be doing a class on it locally the moment that I get everything kind of worked out. So you have a frame like a 4x4 wooden frame, and it is, you know, attached to the table. I can't think of the clamped. It's clamped to the table, similar to my own chenille patch. Yes. So again, and there's different, you can get guns that have shag carpet where it's straight or where it's looped, like looped carpet. Or you can get one that does both. And it, to me, explaining it, it would be like using your serger with the knife on and it cuts the loops, or turning the knife off and it leaves it in loops. The gun I ordered will do both because I like the idea of trying, and you have different heights that you can make it. You'll get to see this because I'll be letting you know all about my journey as I'm going through this. But it is kind of exciting because I love being able to do, me, I love adding all kinds of elements to things. What was funny, after I had ordered everything and taken, I'd gotten the class, my son was home for Easter, and I was telling him what I did, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, I wanted to buy one of those." And when I did it, I thought, I think guys would like doing this. So I was very fortunate when I was in Kansas City at DAX several years ago. I met a young man, and he's the most energetic guy. And he won the drawing that we were giving away. So I got to know him. And then every year he comes back and visits me at DAX. This year he came back and he's doing tufting, and he's been teaching some classes, which really, really got it in my head that I definitely wanted to get on this and try to figure it out. So I will gladly keep y'all in the loop and let you know how I'm doing with it. And like I said, Teresa, it is a new hobby, but for me, it was one of the cheapest hobbies that I've probably got into. And the one thing that I like about it, except for the frame, everything else is small. I mean, it's not, the frame, and I have been designing 2 different types, and you can even buy aluminum frames that you can, break apart. My husband's crafty. I'm pretty crafty. So I feel like I can cheaply make a frame and then decide what I do or don't want later. But I'm getting a frame that can slide in or out to be bigger or smaller so that I can put denim jackets on it. So what they do on the sides of those frames is they use carpet tacks. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you, don't get your design so tight into it. You saw mine, it was very close to the edge, and my hands have all kinds of little fine lines where I would catch my hand on the carpet tacks. So I know that I will make a bigger frame so that my hands don't quite go to the edge all the time. But, I love crafting. I love being able to share with each of you the things that I love to do. I will post the video. And if anybody would like this craft embroidery file, I'll put that in the files in the group. So go check that out. And as always, if you're not watching on YouTube, please, please, please go join YouTube. Please have your friends join. Please support me because I need to get my numbers up there. I have a friendly competition, and I'm competitive, so I need to get the numbers up. And did it hurt my hand? Yeah, a bit, And true, well, at the time you hardly notice it because your hand's kind of vibrating with the gun. And I'm very lucky that I can hold the gun and do left or right-handed. So I did have that advantage. I did take off my engagement ring because I caught it. And that is, and you can there's just little lines, it wasn't bad, but, it didn't feel good by any means. And at the end of the day, after I did it a few times, I kind of learned to keep my hands away from it. And one of your instincts is you want to brace something. No, because there's tacks in it. But I am excited about it, and I won't get to play with it for a few weeks just because I'll be in and out of the house and stuff showing up. But the moment that I get it, I will be sharing, and I'll post some videos and talking about it. But I was very, very fortunate. So if you're in the it was Douglasville, Georgia. If you're in that area, it was Studio Unlimited. Had a great time, and they do, paint by number type of classes. They do candle making, they do rhinestone figurines, they do soaps and lotions, and they were probably going to be moving locations. And they just said that the economy was hard and that they may need to downsize to a little bit smaller studio in a different location. So I wish them the best because they were excellent teachers and they really, really shared their knowledge with let me play with the different guns. And it was nice because, I had my canvas and I could take the different guns and try and some, different guns, different yarns, and like I said, if you see that they have a battery packed gun, tufting gun, and that sounds great. And if you're stronger upper body, then you would love it. For me, the weight of that battery quickly was tiring to me, to where having the cord swinging didn't bother me a bit. But it's something, if you have, maybe if I continue on to the gym and build my upper body, I can work up to using a cordless one. But right now I'm a wimp. The 11-pound gun, I would, and it felt great and it stitched beautifully. But 11 pounds over your head I didn't like it. So those are just some things, and I'll talk about those later. And Donna, yeah, you can get one started, but you're not at home enough to teach a class. I forget, you're the world traveler. So everybody, I hope y'all all have a great night. And thank you so much for coming and hanging out with me tonight. And please, I hate to beg and bribe, but please join me Thursday night for Caesars After Dark because I need some friendly faces and names to show up. So everybody have a great night, and I will see a lot of you on Thursday. Some of you I will see next Wednesday at Amy's, and you never know where I might show up. But everybody have a great night and looking forward to seeing you soon. Bye, gang.